Hi there, and welcome to the Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life using real food and we keep it real simple. And today we're gonna make taco soup. Now, this is one of my husband's favorite dishes, and I could not believe that I did not have a recipe for it. It's one of those things you just look around, see what you have at home, and dump in with some seasonings, and you're good to go. So I made it the other night, and it was so delicious. So after testing it a couple times, now I'm ready to share it with you. And it couldn't be any easier, and here are the ingredients that I'm gonna use. But I'm also gonna share tips with you about how you can alter them to see what you can use from your own pantry and your refrigerator. All right, the first thing I have here is one Vidalia onion that I have diced in about a 1/2 inch dice. No need to be too particular with this one. And I'm just gonna dump it into the pot. Now, we can turn the sear saute on. On high is fine. Hit the start button. I'm famous for not doing that. And then we're gonna add in our meat choices. What I have and what I'm using here for this is 1 pound of 80/20 ground beef. You could use any type of ground beef you wanted, 93.7, 90/10, whatever you want is fine. You could use ground turkey. You could also omit this altogether. I'm gonna put that in. If you want to omit all meat to make this a vegetarian taco soup, that is absolutely fine. You're gonna wanna bump up your spices, switch to a vegetable stock, and also put a little bit of the oil of your choice in the bottom to saute the onions. All right, the next thing I'm gonna use for my taco soup is chorizo. The chorizo comes, this is a Mexican chorizo, and there is a difference between a Spanish and a Mexican chorizo. The Mexican chorizo is usually not cooked, and it comes either in a package like this, which is just it's just ground pork with a bunch of great seasonings, but it's not in a casing, so it's all loose. Or you can get it in a casing already. Either one is fine. If you get it in the casing, just snip the casing off and push the sausage meat into the Ninja Foodi. But this one doesn't come with any kind of casing except for the package itself. So I'm just gonna snip it off here and just go ahead and put it in. This adds a ton of flavor to the taco soup. So like I said, if you're going to omit it, you definitely need to bump up your seasonings quite a bit. Double or triple what I'm using here, okay? All right, I'm gonna use my mix and chop, but you could use anything you have that's safe for the nonstick to sort of mix up this meat and get it on the bottom so we can get it to saute. Then while it's browning up just a little bit, we don't have to cook it all the way, just a little bit, I'll go over the rest of the ingredients. Already smelling so good. All right, so the spice blend, this is what I'm using here, is 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika, a tablespoon of ground cumin, 1 teaspoon of chipotle, and I know that's a lot. I wanted it to be super spicy this time. You can cut that back or omit it altogether. I'm also gonna use a little bit of jalapeno pepper when we go under pressure, and I'm gonna reserve some for garnish afterwards. That is totally optional as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and add these spices in right now and kind of mix them up with the meat. All right, we'll let that saute for about 5 to 10 minutes. Now, you do not have to make sure that the meat is completely cooked. We are gonna go under pressure for 5 minutes, and that pressure cook time will cook this meat. But I do like to get it a little bit browned up on the outside just because that boosts the flavor in the soup and makes it extra delicious. So we're gonna go ahead and saute for 5 to 10 minutes. If you don't wanna worry about that, then don't. You can skip to the next step, which will be adding in the beef broth. But while that's sauteing, let me go over the rest of the ingredients. What I have here is 1 can of drained black beans that I rinsed off in a colander. I have 2 cups of frozen corn, but you could use canned corn. That would work just fine, or you, of course, could omit it. Everything is optional, guys. You could also add in string beans. I mean, you could look around in your freezer and see what you have, add it in. This is that kind of soup. The seasonings make it. Any ingredients you want are fine in there. I also have a can of fire roasted tomatoes, which is my absolute favorite type of canned tomato. They are not spicy. I just heard the other day that somebody was worried about making my tomato soup recipe because they thought it was spicy. These are not spicy. They're fire roasted, which means like if you took a whole tomato and threw them over an open flame, they get that fire roasted flavor, and you can see the peels are a little dark in places. So they are not spicy, don't worry about that. And we're using 1 can of those, which is I think 14.5 ounces. Now you could use regular diced tomatoes, that would be perfectly fine too. And I have 4 carrots here that I have chopped up in about a 1/2 inch slice. It doesn't matter how big or small in diameter they are, as long as they are about a 1/2 inch or less, they will cook in the 5 minutes, no problem. You just don't want to have big chunks like this because they won't cook all the way through in 5 minutes. All right, I know this seems like a lot, but this is stuff I just had in my house, you know, things I normally carry or normally stock. All right, these are mini peppers. Now, mini peppers are just like a bell pepper, a sweet bell pepper in various colors. So you could certainly use just 1 red or yellow or orange pepper and it would be fine. But what I decided to do is use 4 of these because I had them and I didn't have bell peppers. So I used different colors, and I just think that adds like a nice little touch to the soup, but it's totally not necessary. Use what you have. All right, last thing, this is cilantro stems. So this is the part that most people throw away. They're the stems, and they are gonna give a ton of flavor to our soup when we go under pressure. So I really encourage you to save those stems and use them in your soup. You could even freeze them. Even though they're gonna get icky looking, they're still gonna have great flavor, and you can use them in your soups. All right, it looks like we're doing pretty well here. Give it a little chop up, and time to add in the rest of our ingredients and go under pressure. All right, I'm using 4 cups of beef stock. And if you wanted to use ground chicken or turkey, you could use chicken stock instead. That would be fine. Mix that around a little bit. Add in our black beans. And if you didn't have black beans, you can add in any kind of beans, even kidney beans, whatever. Skip the beans. Remember, this is a soup that you make from what you have in the pantry. Use the seasonings to flavor it, and it's going to be terrific. 2 cups of corn. The 1 can of fire roasted tomatoes. And this is a nice full pot of soup, okay? So you can easily cut it in half as well. The 4 carrots that I chopped up. Cilantro stems. Mini peppers. And I just slice those in rounds. I don't even de-seed them. I don't even worry about it. Gosh, this soup is so gorgeous. So gorgeous. Now, it's a full pot, which means it's going to take a while to come to pressure. So I would expect it to take probably 15-20 minutes. So we need to build that into the time. So even though it's a 5-minute pressure cook time, this is not a 10-minute soup. It's going to take longer than that, so plan accordingly. My jalapeno pepper, I'm just going to go ahead and slice it thinly, and I'm going to use about half of it. Totally optional. The other half I'm going to use for garnish. All right. Give it a little mix here. This is another one that you could actually do in a crock pot too. So you could go up to this step and then put it on high, and I haven't tested it, so I'm going to guess on the time. But I would say high for about 4 to 6 hours, and it would make a delicious soup. So if you wanted to prep it before you went to work and have it ready when you got home, that would be a great option. All right, let's go ahead and turn the valve to seal And we're gonna, oh, let me talk about this real quick because I haven't done it yet, and I have seen some conversation about this in our Facebook group. So let me go ahead and explain this for a minute. All right. The sear saute, which is what we're on right now. So if I lifted this up, it would go back to the high sear saute. As soon as I put this lid on, it's gonna give me a lid notice. And you might think, oh, you can't use the lid when you sear saute, but in fact you can. As soon as you lock it into place, that goes away. However, what's gonna happen, if you keep it like this and you keep it sealed, you're going under pressure because steam is gonna build, the red pin's gonna pop or silver, the red or silver pin's gonna pop up, and you are going under pressure, okay? So don't do that. If you need to put the lid on, because let's say you're simmering spaghetti sauce and it's a full pot and you want it on a low simmer and you want to keep the lid on, make sure it is vented, okay? And periodically check to make sure that steam is not being built where this red pin pops up. If the red or silver pin pops up while you're sear sauteing, whether you're vented or not, you can't open the lid. And so if you need to open the lid, turn the Ninja Foodi off, let it settle down, then you'll be able to have that pin drop. Don't push that pin down. Don't ever fool with that pin. All right, so I just wanted to show you that, but really, sear saute, I never use a lid. I can't think of one time that I ever used a lid for that, but it is possible. You can't use the Tender Crisp lid though. All right, so now we're gonna go under pressure. So I'm gonna switch over to the pressure function. High is what we want, and we wanna go 5 minutes. All right, put it back to seal. Again, it's gonna take a while to come to pressure. 15 to 20 minutes is my guess. I'll have Jeff time it, and I'll let you know when it's done. And then we natural release for 5 minutes, and then we will manually release the remaining pressure, and we will serve up our soup. It's that simple. All right, so it took the pot about 12 minutes to build the pressure enough to have the red pin, or some of them are silver now, to pop up. Then it took another 2 minutes for the countdown to start. So that's a total time to pressure of 14 minutes. We went under pressure for 5 minutes, then we natural released for 5 minutes, and now I'm gonna go ahead and release the remaining pressure. And this is gonna take a couple of minutes to do because there's a lot of steam built up and it is a full pot. All right, so it took just about a little over 4 minutes for all the pressure to be released. That's what I would expect. The pin has dropped down now, and it is safe to open the lid. So we can do that away from you. There's a lot of steam built. And set it over here. All right, so now I'm just gonna give it a little stir and let it cool down just a little bit. It is gorgeous. Oh my gosh, it looks and smells so good. Now you could taste one of your carrots now, and if it wasn't done to your liking, you could just put the sear saute on for a few minutes until it finishes cooking, but I can tell just by looking at these carrots that they are done just fine. All right, so while that cools down a little bit, we're gonna get our toppings together, and I'm gonna talk about some hush puppies. So these are hush puppies that I made in the Ninja Foodi, and they are so incredibly delicious. And there's a little story about them that I wanted to share with you because I think it's just really funny. I was text messaging with a friend of mine the other day, Amber, and I said, Amber, I'm making taco soup and I'm gonna make this for Jeff's dinner, and I wanted something to go with it, you know, like a cornbread, but not really a cornbread, and I wanted just something a little bit different. And I said, I'm thinking about making hush puppies. What do you think about that? And she like gave me this funny little emoji face back and said, those don't go with taco soup. And I thought, well, why not? But I respect her opinion, so I'm thinking I must be losing my mind because I would think hush puppies went great with taco soup. And so I was thinking of something else to make and something else, and nothing else sounded good. I didn't want cornbread. So I said, well, Amber, I'm gonna make hush puppies. And she sent back an emoji of the laugh face. She was laughing so hard in the grocery store because she thought I was trying to make tater tots. So nonetheless, now Amber's nickname is Tater Tot and mine is Hush Puppy, which is perfectly fitting because I never seem to shut up. So delicious hush puppies, and I'm gonna link to that recipe right up there because you are gonna wanna make these. So we're gonna serve that with our taco soup. All right, now let's get the taco soup out into the bowl, and then I will slice up my little garnishes for the top. Oh my goodness, it looks so good. Put this bowl up here. Wow. It's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. All right, so what I'm gonna do for my garnishes is a little bit of cheese. You could garnish this however you want, whatever you want. You could put tortilla chips, Fritos, whatever. You could put lettuce and tomato, you could put salsa on top, anything like that. I'm gonna thinly slice just a couple slices of this jalapeno pepper. I'm gonna put those on top. And I want a little bit of color, so I'm gonna use a couple of thin slices of the red. Ooh, how pretty. Cheese is melted nice. You know what? I think that's good enough. I'm gonna put a little bit more green on with some cilantro. And my cilantro is looking a little pathetic right now. It's a little bit old, so yours will be nice and fresh probably, but mine is not, but it's still going to taste fine. All right, get those on. Oh, sour cream would be delicious too. I didn't even think about that. Oh yes, that would be so good. All right, let's get our hush puppy up here. These are amazing. I mean, amazing. All done in the air fryer, very little oil. Oh, and you can make them gluten-free too. And if you put jalapeno peppers in here, they would be really perfect with this taco soup. All right, let's hope it's not too hot. Oh, it looks so good. Hot. I might have burned my mouth on that one. Totally worth it though. Oh my goodness. It is so good. Now it is spicy. So if this is for the kids or you don't like spice, cut out that chipotle or cut it down definitely. Omit the jalapeno pepper. But it is the perfect amount of spice for me. All right, let's take a bite of the hush puppy. Mmm. Wow. So delicious. These were made about an hour ago, and they are still really good. So they're fine to make, an hour or so in advance. They're delicious. Dip it in there like that. Oh my. Perfect. I'm gonna try one of these carrots. Let's see. Perfectly cooked. The other thing that I really like is the crunch from the raw jalapeno pepper, and it's not too spicy. But you could get that same crunch without adding the spice if you wanted to put on some diced up onions on top. That would be delicious too. So really, again, this is a soup that you look around in your pantry, your freezer, and your fridge, you find all that leftover stuff, you dump it in, you season it up, and you make your own version of taco soup that you love.